Alright guys, I'm Scott Selby, this is Andrew Myers. Welcome to another 360 test drive with Classic Mazda of Denton. Today we are going to be testing out the 2020 CX-5. This is actually a Touring with the preferred equipment package, so it's kind of like the base Touring but going to come with a couple extras. I'm not as familiar with these as Andrew is, so we're just going to kind of go through everything, point out things as we go along, and if you have any questions, feel free to call us with the contact info provided at the end. So, first things first, going to put that foot on the brake and hit that start button. Just start right up every time. I like to have my seat a little farther back, so I always like to adjust the steering wheel too. It is tilt and telescopic, so you can move it up and down, in and out. Alright. A couple of the first things you're going to notice when you hop in a CX-5 is going to be your whole commander wheel setup right here and your Mazda Connect system. So this is used to control the Mazda Connect system when you're driving. You have your home button, navigation, entertainment, everything's all in one place. You do have the electronic parking brake right here, as well as auto hold, which we'll go over in a minute. This is going to be your sport button, so whenever you flip it over into sport mode, it's going to change your shift points, try to give you as much power as possible. The rest of the time, it's going to be trying to give you the best economy possible. Okay. On the steering wheel, you're going to notice the left side is going to have all your music controls, things like that. On the back here is going to be your headlights. This one does have the auto high beam.
Yes, it does. Auto high beam, and it also has automatic on-off headlights and interior lights that will turn off on their own if you forget to hit those when you're exiting the vehicle. So,
okay, so can you tell us a little more about the auto high beam?
Yeah, so what that'll do is kick on your high beams when there is no light coming from the opposing side of the street. So if you're in a country road, for example, and you are coming up over a hill, your high beams will be on if there's no opposing light. But say you clear that hill and there's a car there, high beams will automatically lower to not blind that other driver.
Right.
Be courteous, and then once you pass them, they'll activate again.
Sounds like something I need.
Yeah,
definitely. Okay, awesome. Well, you do have auto headlights on here too. I don't know if you mentioned that.
Yes.
So, just leave it on auto all the time. You don't got to worry about kicking them on and off. Same thing with the high beam control. You can pretty much leave it on all the time, right?
Correct. Yep.
Awesome. So a couple things I also wanted to mention before we actually get out on the road, guys, is this has a lot of awesome safety features. So especially beneficial in parking lots is going to be that rear cross traffic alert.
Yeah, it's good for parking lots, especially coming out of a parking space. A lot of times we pull in forward and then back out. When you're backing out, you have a backup camera that's going to help you, but it doesn't always alert you to moving objects that are coming. So if you have a car, a child on a bicycle,
right,
family walking their
shopping
dog,
cart,
yeah, anything moving about 3 miles an hour or faster, it's going to alert you before it even appears in your backup camera that there's someone back there, so you're not getting into an accident in the parking lot. And fender benders account for a huge portion of the car accidents that happen, so that is definitely a must-have. There's another feature that pairs with that. It's blind spot monitoring. That's not really for the parking lot, but it does use the same radar sensors to check your blind spot areas when you're driving. It's
like if I was on the highway and I hit my turn signal, it's going to let me know.
Exactly. It'll give you an audible and a visual warning. So like if you look over and see an orange light on the side mirror, you know that there's a car there. But if you miss the light rather, and you can't see that, you hit the blinker, it'll beep still to let you know that there's something there.
Awesome.
So either way, you're going to be alerted.
Chock full of safety.
Right.
Awesome. Let's go ahead and put it in drive and get out on the road. I did mention that electronic parking brake before. You're going to push down to disengage that electronic parking brake.
And foot on the brake.
And foot on the brake.
A two-step process there.
Let me pull out. We are in the dealership, so it's a little bit of tight maneuvering, which the CX-5 handles incredibly well. For a smaller SUV, it's got an impeccable turning radius. I don't know if you can see out the windows right now, but we're just weaving through these cars, no problem. Alrighty. So being a Touring, this one's going to have the 2.5 liter engine in it. It's not the turbocharged version that we're offering in the Grand Touring Reserve now.
Correct. Grand Touring Reserve and Signature Series will both get the beefier 2.5 turbo.
It still makes plenty of power.
I actually opted to go with the 2.5 in my own personal CX-5. I felt like the power was definitely what I needed without going overboard, and you really get a great bang for your buck in some of these lower trim levels in terms of the features that you're picking up for the cost. So I opted for the 2.5 that we're testing out now.
Another cool feature I wanted to mention, as we go around that corner, you're going to feel things like G-vectoring control kicking in, and what that's going to do is try to balance out the amount of torque on the front wheels to keep the load of the vehicle balanced. So let's say you're doing some emergency maneuvering, you're doing some heavy cornering, anything like that. It's going to take all those extra little corrections you make out of driving.
Right, because those are the things that leads to driver fatigue. in a long stint, if you're driving an hour, 2 hours, you're making thousands of corrections on that wheel at any given point. And if you can minimize those with the G-vectoring control and keep the driver alert and less tired, I think you're doing a really good job.
Right, and I mean, we've driven these things pretty far distances, and it's not the
yeah.
same as driving like an old car where you're all beat up in the end and your mouth's all dry and you're just tired.
You'll find in rentals a lot of the time when you go on vacation, you'll get a car, whether because of the way it looks or because of features it offers while you're on vacation. You'll notice after you drive across town, or if you're in California, for example, if you're going from south to north, after a few hours you have some sciatic pain in your legs or your back, or you can't get the right lumbar support. I never have that problem with any of the Mazdas. I think they take a real focused approach to how the driver feels behind the wheel.
Absolutely. And as that guy just pulled out there in front of us, it reminded me of another cool feature that's on these guys. It's going to be that electronic brake force distribution. So what that's going to do, I'm actually going to lay on the brakes a little bit as we come up to this stop sign. But normally a car is front brake bias, which means when you hit the brakes, it's going to tilt forward, it's going to lean forward, take some of that load off of the rear wheels. Well, with electronic brake force distribution, it's going to try to distribute the brake load to all four wheels evenly to help the vehicle squat down. And you're going to notice a much more controlled stop, shorter stopping distances. And if you do have to make an emergency stop, that's going to be the difference between life and death right there.
Right. It's more of a controlled sit down, like you were saying, instead of a slide into a stop where you get if you had forward brake force being the majority of the brake force. Ours will split it to a 50-50. So you'll get the same amount of power in the back as you would in the front when you're applying the brakes in an emergency stop.
It's pretty cool feeling too. Like you can notice it. It's a big difference.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
All right. I'm gonna make it right here. And another thing I want to talk about, guys, is this auto hold feature. So I just turned it on. When you come to a complete stop, it's gonna say hold on the dash. I can lift my foot off of the brake. We're not moving anywhere until I hit the gas. Then we're gonna go. You don't have to touch the button again. You just turn it on once when you get in the car. Some people like it, some people don't. That's why it's optional.
I like to use it in the drive-thru. Instead of keeping my foot held down on that brake the whole time, I can just kind of hang out, wait for the car to move forward, and then keep on rolling.
Like, have you ever been in the drive-thru and you gotta like reach for your wallet or something, and your foot slips off the brake and you kind of lurch forward, and you're like, oh god, then you lay on the brakes again?
I think we've all been there.
Yeah, well, with auto hold, you don't have to do that. So awesome. Anything else you wanted to mention?
We haven't really gone over the smart brake support feature. That kind of ties into that brake force distribution being unlocked. So your brake support, if you're about to rear end a car or another object in front of you in the lane, say you're looking out to the right or the left and not really paying attention to what's in front of you, as you're about to impact that car, the vehicle is going to make a audible alert. It'll flash brake in all caps on the third gauge over on the right. And if you don't immediately act and brake the vehicle, it's going to take over and stop the car before you impact. And that'll happen between 2 and 90 miles an hour. So
like on the highway, everything.
City driving, it's really open-ended.
Awesome.
There's not a whole lot of roads. I don't think there's any in America that are over 90 miles an hour speed limit, so you should be covered.
Yeah, so you're protected going forward and back. That rear cross traffic alert, and then the smart brake support. Awesome.
And there's lane departure warning system on the vehicle as well, so you can almost say it's 360 degrees of protection.
Right.
Because if you drift out of your lane without putting your blinker on, the car's going to make a note of that and kind of gently nudge you back into the direction of the lane that you're supposed to be in. That's another one of those fatigue features. I wanted to make sure that the driver's not too fatigued to continue driving. Potentially falling asleep at the wheel could lead to some accidents and problems. So anything we can do to help keep everyone safe, that is the plan. Apart from that, radar cruise control is on this vehicle as well, and that'll pick up on the vehicle in front of you using the same distance recognition software that the brake supports.
Awesome.
So if you're going 60 in cruise and the car in front of you is going 60 and slows to 55, normally you'd have to turn your cruise control off and adjust your speed. Yeah, do something. There'd be an input from the driver. Radar cruise control takes that input away. It'll actually pull you back, follow them at a safe distance, and maintain speed that matches the car in front of you until they get out of the way. Once they get out of the way, you will resume your original speed
back up
limit.
to 70.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
awesome.
No input.
And does this one have the stop and go feature as well? Being the touring with the preferred equipment package?
Stop and go as in cylinder deactivation, or stop and go as in like the engine shuts off?
For the radar cruise control.
Oh, yes, excuse me. So the radar cruise control will bring you all the way down to 0 if needed. So red light, for example, if you're cruising in city speeds like 35 miles an hour and you come up to a red light and the car in front of you stops, you will stop, go to 0, and when the light turns green and the car in front of you proceeds to drive through the light, you'll just tap the gas pedal and you will continue on your designated cruise setting. So
awesome,
they try to make it as automatic as possible.
A cocoon of safety.
Yeah.
Well, guys, that's going to conclude our test drive of the 2020 CX-5. If you have any questions or you just want to know a little bit more about the car, give us a call at 940-498-9800, or you can find us at classicofdenton.com. This is Andrew Myers once again, and he will take excellent care of you if you guys decide to come up here. So
Absolutely.
we hope to see you soon.
Thank you all for watching.